Hello, I'm Paige, and together we're diving into a powerful and transformative concept, inclusive education. Whether you're an educator, parent, policymaker, or simply passionate about equality, this topic affects us all, especially here in South Africa. In our classrooms, homes, and communities, we have so many wonderful and different learners, each carrying their own story. So if we have such fantastically different people, why are we trying to fit them into the same boring box? Today, we are going to be chatting about the psychology behind inclusive education in South Africa, what it means, why is it super important, and why inclusion isn't just some box to tick for policy, but a real psychological and human must-have. Trust me, it's not just paperwork. So every time we mention inclusive education, people seem to picture stuffy curriculum changes, paperwork, or special plans. But honestly, the heart of all of it is just people. It's about how kids grow up, how they see themselves, how they find their tribe, how their surroundings either help them thrive or hold them back. Psychology is the magic lens here. It shows that learning isn't just maths and essays. It's got this emotional, social vibe, and it's totally tangled up on how safe and awesome a learner feels about themselves and their own identity. Here in South Africa, this is a biggie. Our learners just don't walk in with a school bag. They come carrying things like poverty, trauma, language barriers, learning barriers, disabilities, and loads of social challenges. Inclusive education is here because without it, way too many learners end up feeling invisible, powerless, or left out. And from a psychological point of view, exclusion doesn't just mess with marks. It affects your self-esteem, motivation, emotional balance, and even long-term mental health. If you want to know why inclusive education hits so hard, let's just get a bit nerdy with two psychological theories. We're going to be looking at Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory, as well as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. These two are like the secret code for understanding how learners grow and what they need to absolutely shine. Bronfenbrenner's theory basically says kids don't grow up in bubbles. Every learner is part of this interconnected system shaping who they become. First up, we have the microsystem, their immediate world. Think of your classroom, your teachers, your friends, your family. This is where learners build their first beliefs about themselves. A kid who gets support and understanding thinks, I'm amazing, I belong. Meanwhile, a kid who's always corrected or ignored might think, maybe I'm just a bother. In inclusive education, the classroom is like the psychological playground. When teaching bends and flexes, differences are totally normal, and learners get support instead of punishment. Their emotional safety gets a big thumbs up. Especially in South Africa, where classes are massive and resources are kind of stretched, the emotional vibe in a classroom is often even more crucial. Just one teacher's attitude can make exclusion a thing, or build belonging that flips the learner's whole school journey. No pressure, teachers. Bronfenbrenner also talks about the Mesosystem, which is all about the links between the part of a learner's life. Home and school, teachers and support teams, parents in the education system. When these hang together, the learners feel safe and steady. If not, cue confusion, anxiety, and that lonely feeling of being unsupported. Inclusive education gets that learners don't magically leave their home stuff at the school gate. Behavior, learning, emotions, all shaped by the outside life of the classroom. When parents are partners, when culture and language are actually appreciated, and when communication is open, learners feel seen as real people, not just as problems to fix. And honestly, isn't that what we all want? Now, the exosystem. These are the things that learners don't control, like school policies, access to support, district rules, community resources. In South Africa, these often bring stress thanks to tight budgets, not enough staff, or forever long waiting lists. Learners can't change these, but they sure feel the effects. When support is slow or missing, frustration and doubt creep in, and suddenly learners question if their needs matter. Inclusive education, from a psychological angle, tries to shield learners from these big system gaps by tweaking teaching, expectations, and support inside the classroom. It flips the script from what's wrong with the learner to what can we change to help this learner rock their education. Lastly, Bronfenbrenner tells us about the macrosystem, the big picture, culture, society, history. In South Africa, our past of segregation and exclusion still shapes how we see differences, disabilities, and what counts as ability. Cultural beliefs, language priorities, and social inequalities all play a role in how learners get treated and in how they see themselves. Inclusive education challenges those old school ideas that some learners are less capable or worthy. Psychologically, this is huge. If society treats differences as a flaw, learners feel ashamed. But if difference is just part of the wild rainbow of humanity, learners get confident and tough. Inclusion here is all about restoring dignity and rewriting stories that have kept learners on the sidelines for ages. Alongside Bronfenbrenner, Maslow's hierarchy of needs explains why inclusive education isn't just nice, it's needed for any learning to happen. Maslow says people have layers of need before they can even hit their full potential. First up, we have your physiological needs. Kids who are hungry, tired, or sick can't focus. In South Africa, lots of learners come to school running on empty. Inclusive education gets that learning doesn't start with textbooks. It starts with looking after the basics. Next, kids need to feel safe, full stop, physically and emotionally. That means protection from bullying, humiliation, and fear. Teachers, we should not be feeding into that. When a learner feels unsafe, their brain is busy surviving, not learning. Inclusive classrooms build routines, fair discipline, and emotional support, so learners get comfy enough to learn. I know it is easier said than done. After safety, it's all about love and belonging. This is where inclusion really kicks in. Every learner wants to feel accepted, valued, and connected. When they do, motivation soars, behavior improves, and risk-taking in learning looks less scary. Exclusion by labels, segregation, or low expectation wrecks the sense of belonging and can lead to learners zoning out or acting up. Next, Maslow highlights esteem. Learners need to taste success and get recognized. Inclusive education focuses on strengths, celebrating progress, and embraces different ways to show what you've learned. Psychologically, this is a confidence booster, especially for kids who have faced failure over and over. Right at the top, we have self-actualization, the dream of reaching your full potential. But learners can only get there once their basic emotional and social needs are sorted. Inclusive education exists to make sure every learner, not just the lucky ones, get a shot at the top tier. In South Africa, inclusive education is literally essential. It tackles deep inequalities, supports learners, battling loads of barriers, and boosts mental health and well-being. Psychologically, inclusion cuts stigma, stops emotional pain, and helps learners build a positive identity. Basically, it's a win-win. Inclusive education isn't just a teaching style, it's a psychological must. Bronfenbrenner shows learners are shaped by systems. Maslow says learning depends on needs being met. And in South Africa, inclusive education isn't about opening doors to classrooms, it's about healing, dignity, and hope. Remember, belonging starts with us. I'll see you next time. Bye.